The manga starts, and a girl was getting ready to say something that would change everything for her. With a bold tone, she lets her senior know that she likes him a lot and would like to date him. As she did this in an area full of people, his eyes widen to hear this, and she herself reflects on how she was able to say this without any pauses. As they awkwardly stare, a hand suddenly covers her eyes, and from the side, a girl shouts at her and lets her know that Wataru is entirely hers and she can't be with him. That day, she not only confessed to her crush but also learned that she has supernatural eyes to see ghosts. Right after this encounter, she rushed to a specialist and wanted to find out if she was mentally fine or not, and the doctor assured her that everything was okay with her, and the problems she was seeing were just in her imagination. The next day, she sees her crush one more time at their workplace, and as she was about to approach him, the same ghost was circling all around him and muttering obsessive things about him. Now she was sure that even the ghost loved a man like him, but at this rate, she was sure that this was beyond imagination. Wataru glances over to her, and as she sighs from his gaze, she screams good morning to him, and in her eyes she just can't get him out of her mind. A filter of beautification also applies every time he looks at her with a smile. She knows for a fact that he is the one for her. However, the ghost who was circling around sneaks up on her, and with menacing eyes she glares at poor Kyoka, and the ghost asks her to stop smiling at her man. She shouts at her and tells her to stop overreacting on basic greetings and asks if she is a cat in heat or something. Now Kyoka has been holding back, but her limit was slowly approaching. And after their work shift ended, he leaves, and the ghost kept provoking her over and over again. As she waved, from the side, a man asks her if she is dating Wataru, and she replies that it is not like that yet. It seemed like her tale of confession in the middle of a mixer was spread like wildfire, and everyone knew about it and was rooting for her. On the other hand, she was dying from embarrassment. She sits down and replies to him that they are still in the middle of figuring things out. Now it had been a few days since she confessed, and the ghost was around him all the time. Kyoka asks her colleague about the girl and briefly explains her details, and just as he hears this, he ends up dropping his coffee. As she asks if he is okay, with a stuttering voice he asks if she knew Madoka or something. Now she had no idea who she was, and he ends up showing her a picture of her ex-girlfriend. In the picture, both of them had wide smiles across their faces, and he lets her know that they knew each other for a long time and dated for a long time as well, but Madoka sadly passed away at the age of 20. He lets her know in a sad voice that after her passing, he wasn't able to date anyone. He adds that there were times when he got close to some women but slowly they distanced themselves from him. She processes this and asks if the person she is looking at is a ghost or something, and he tells her to stop imagining. He smiles at her and lets her know that Wataru needs some time to move on, and would surely love to be together with a person like Kyoka. For the next few days, Madoka made sure to make her life difficult. Everything that she did, she made sure to trouble her over and over again. It got to a point that she mustered the courage to ask him for a lunch date, and there Madoka made the waiter splash water on her face. As Madoka laughed while making a cute expression, the waiter apologizes to her, and Wataru hands her a handkerchief. Now Madoka has been trying very hard to push her away, and when he does this she was so happy, but Madoka ruined everything for her again. As she tells Wataru to leave Kyoka, she was just ready to snap at this annoying ghost. But Madoka just kept pushing her limits and began to mock her. Now her sanity was about to snap, and she makes an excuse of going to the toilet, and when she enters, she closes the door and brings out a wrapper of some sort, and in the next second, she throws it all at Madoka and screams at her to get lost. As it affected her greatly, she turns into a glue matters for some time, and she ends up muttering some prayers for her, but Madoka was not ready to go down so easily. She immediately gets up and with a smiling face she asks if she can see her. Her excitement was beyond control, and she began to circle around her and began to explain that there were a lot of girls who were able to hear things from her, but she was the first to see her. As Kyoka glared at her with dead eyes, her persona changed, and with a confident tone, she lets her know that she is the sweetheart who stole Wataru's heart, and there is no way that she can just have him and conquer him. She bragged about being a super cute girlfriend. Kyoka tosses more insults at her and silences her, but she exclaims and tells her to stop throwing salt at her. As they interacted, a fight to claim their loved one was just about to start. She points her finger at Madoka and lets her know that she has been dead a long time ago, and she shouldn't interfere with the love life of the living. As Kyoka pressures herself onto her, she just goes mute and just looks at her. After that, she gets back to Wataru, and as she sits down, Madoka returns again and begins to instruct Wataru to dump Kyoka right this instant. As she was beyond troubled, she begins to circle around him one more time, and without any pauses, she asks Wataru to respond to her confession that she did the other day. And with a weak voice, Wataru lets her know that he can't date her. Now she just goes into shock, and Madoka just bursts into laughter, and exclaims at the top of her lungs how cruelly she was rejected by her so-called crush. She tells her to leave, and with a firm voice, Kyoka asks if the reason he is not dating her is related to his ex-girlfriend. And Madoka began to throw insults, and Wataru replies to her and lets her know that he has not been able to let his ex-girlfriend go. Now as he says this, Madoka becomes a maiden madly in love and shouts his name. Kyoka was not here to give up, and she asks the right question at the right time and asks if he hates her or something, and after learning that he doesn't really hate her, she lets him know that in a month she would make him fall for her and forget all about his ex-girlfriend. She gives him a big thumbs up, and now she was ready to make all efforts to make him fall head over heels for her. As Madoka glares at this witch with devilish eyes, the following evening, Madoka haunted her all the way and began to trouble her again and again. She did all sorts of dances and made sure to annoy her, and this was also the technique she used to send all women away from Wataru. As she notices a pile of dust, she tells her to clean her place, but more importantly, she ends up seeing the latest editions of the manga that she always wanted to read, and her excitement was uncontainable. She glances to her like a puppy, and with a cute face she asks her to read them all for her. Now all of a sudden, when she wanted a favor, she became sweeter than honey, and she points this out, and Madoka begins to beg her. She even adds and tells her that if she were to read them, she would find peace. In the end, she decided to read everything to her, and when she does, with a sad voice, Madoka lets her know that this was the manga that both her and Wataru would read all the time when they were together. She asks if she is bragging again, and she didn't say a thing and begins to explain how first they would take turns to buy the latest editions from the manga store, but slowly Wataru was the only one who would buy her the editions. As tears began to form in her eyes, finally the energetic princess that she was trying to portray disappears, and deep down she missed her lovers a lot and their time together. Kyoka adds and tells her not to cry like this, and she lets her know that she is happy to finally read the part that she didn't get to read. As she lets out a beautiful smile, she again tells her that she is happy to finally finish this. She looks at her and thinks about something, and in the next second she tells her that if they can deal with the problem of her lingering, she could move on. She asks if Madoka ever thought about this, and she goes mute for some time and smiles at her again and lets her know that she would not hand her Wataru over to her. Now the time keeps flying by, and during a festival, clever Kyoka was able to drag Wataru with her, as she became a cat attached to her beloved. Madoka, on the other hand, screamed at her for using her idea and excuse for a date. As she looks at her with distrustful eyes, she tells him how she used her for her advantage, and she asks her if she wanted to come here again. As they saw the love of their lives in front of them, they captured every single detail of his face, and finally, she realizes that she was perhaps right about using her excuse. Now Wataru smiled earlier, and with a confident voice she lets Madoka know that his smile earlier was solely meant for her. As they both argue over a small point, they finally agreed on one thing for once, and they both smiled at each other, realizing that the person they fell for has the best smile ever. Their smiles were full of innocence and good vibes, so much so that Wataru himself wondered if there was something he missed. Now, their days kept going, and they began to go on date after date. Each day was a blessing for the three of them. It got to a point that Madoka herself slowly began to realize that perhaps Wataru was having a good time with Kyoka. As she saw him smile brightly after so long, she noticed something, and a few days later, it was the last day of their agreement. As Kyoka was too happy to even describe, she was happy that today was the day of cherry blossoms, and something very good could happen to her. She asks Madoka if she is jealous of her getting invited by Wataru, and with a serious tone, she tells her that she is. She faces the other way and lets her know that she would be lying about not being jealous of her getting all the attention and everything. She glances at her and lets her know that she should focus on getting some sleep and wouldn't want to wake up all grumpy. As she hears this, Madoka just lands a blow at her and wanted her to focus on making it tomorrow. Now Kyoka was angry, but she leaves her and tells her that she will be applying a face mask before going to sleep. The next day, she got there way earlier than the meeting time, and as she praised the wonderful weather, she glances back at Wataru and tells him how he is a master at picking a wonderful place for dates. But when she glances back, Wataru was nowhere to be found. Now she was beyond words and started to look for him, but when she sees him, Madoka was standing right next to him the whole time and had a beautiful smile across her face, and it was clear that even after death, poor Madoka was not able to let go of her undying love for him. She clenches her fist and calls out to Wataru, and purposely she stands in front of Madoka. As she notices this as well, they begin to interact again, and cute Madoka confronts her cheating trick of getting in front of her. She asks if he has been here, and with a sad voice he replies and tells her that he came here with Madoka during his student years. Hearing this, she reminds herself that it has been a month, and this is the time for him to decide, and with a confident voice she exclaims and tells him that she loves him and considers him special. She also asks if she is not good enough for him, and as he took a pause, poor Kyoka hears the painful words again. He tells her that it is not because of her or anything like that. The reason that he has been rejecting her is all because of him. With a cracking voice he lets her know that he promised Madoka when he held her swollen hands full of painful blisters which were caused by medication. That day, as he sat in a private hospital room, he lets Madoka know that he would cherish her forever and love her until he breathes. As someone was laying there and hearing this, with absolutely hopeless and painful voice, she forms some words and asks if he would really do it. As we see the sad side of Madoka, full and weak from countless days of painful suffering, tears rolled from her eyes, and there he realized the weight of the strong word forever. He lets her know that as long as one is alive, feelings are always bound to change, and he hates it. He adds and tells her that he had a lot of fun with her, and he is sad himself to stay strong to his promise. He reminds her that he can't let his word turn into a lie. He kept going and began to tell her how she could find someone way better, and she interrupts him, and as tears formed in her eyes she tells him that it is not fair. She tells him that it sounds to her that he is giving up everything for her sake. She screams at him and tells him not to talk about her like she is some type of a curse. As wind blew and the weather suddenly changed to dark and gloomy, she walked off, leaving him there. And as Madoka followed her, she screamed at her and told her that she was fed up with her as well. She tells her that she gave her boyfriend back to him, and he would always be hers in the first place. As she tells her this in a cracking voice, she adds and lets her know that she succeeded in throwing her away, and now she can have all the happy time with him. As tears rolled from her eyes, she left both of them, and that day, her whole world came crumbling down. She was so much in love with him that she would think every day of him, and was sure that she was the fated one for him, but she cries and lets herself know that it was not the case. She shakes herself off and tells herself not to cry too much, and tomorrow she would have to go to work as well. Now as she was saying this, someone rings the doorbell, and when she decided to check on it, Wataru was standing there and called out to her. She asks why he is here, and with a loud voice he lets her know that the things that he said to Madoka were something that he said because he was afraid to face someone else. He shares that he was scared of losing someone again, and that was why he cornered himself and never wanted to move on. He lets her know that he has learned a lot from her and saw that even through pain, people must move on, and with a thunderous voice, he confesses his love for Kyoka and tells her that he can't let go of his Madoka but would still hold onto her hand. As glitters pop in her eyes, she just heard the words she needed to hear from the person she adores more than anything. As this was going on, she was still fearful, and Madoka from the back tells her to hurry up and meet her beloved person. She looks at her and asks if she brought him here, and she reminds her that she can't do anything like that in the first place. She tells her in a cracking voice that a dead person can't interfere with the love life of the living. As she makes her remember her words, there was sadness and pain in her voice. Kyoka looks at her for a minute, and in the next second, she dashes outside, leaving her all alone, and when she opens the door, she tells Wataru that she never wanted him to forget her, and she doesn't mind being second in his life. And as tears rolled from her eyes, she lets him know that despite her being second, out of all living, she is the best person for him and loves him with everything she has. As they both look at each other for a second, their whole world finally connects, and he replies with a yes. As they both hug each other, that day two things happened. Wataru finally moved on from the pain of a loved one, and after that, Madoka disappeared. She just vanished to somewhere, and as days became weeks and then months, there was no sign of her, and even years passed, and on the other hand, they both kept finding love for each other. One day, as they were enjoying their date, and fatefully it was also a cherry blossom day, Wataru was surprisingly very nervous. As he leaves to get some drinks, Kyoka was sure that she has been getting very good treatment from the start, and everything that was happening to her led to a single option, and that was her being proposed by him. As she was beyond happy, she grinned, and from the back, Madoka tells her to stop grinning like an idiot. She spins around to see her standing there, and after years, she came back and stood right next to them. As she asks her something, she interrupts her and spoils everything for her by telling her that she would get proposed. She began to expose all the surprises that Wataru had prepared, and with pure anger, she tells her to stop. As people began to notice Kyoka's behavior, suddenly, a serious atmosphere surrounds her, and she lets her know that there is one thing that she would like her to promise. As Kyoka asks her this, she lets her know to never break up with the man she herself cherishes and cries to her to let her stay with him for one more day. When she says this, tears begin to fall from her face, and it seems like her time was here, and she finally musters the utmost courage to let go of her Wataru. She screams at her and tells her that she can spend the day with her, but then she can go to hell in peace. Now all these big words just meant that she was sending her to the best place. And when Madoka realizes the love behind her voice, she passes a harmless smile and tells her that she would never go to hell in the first place. As a strong wind carried her to the best place, after that day she never showed up again. The story swoops to many, many years later, and there were all sorts of pictures of Wataru and Kyoka's marriage and every great thing that they did. There were also pictures of their newborns, and next to that was a small memorial for Wataru, who lived to his best day and passed away. Just near it, two siblings were interacting and asked where their mother was, and she replied to him and let him know that she went to the civic hall. As Kyoka's son glances at the picture of his father, he cries how their mother was really depressed after their father passed away, but somehow she moved on and found peace. As their sister smiled at this as well, she adds that their mother has much to live, and added that she will live longer and let her husband have a wonderful time with her number one. As we see the weight behind these words, somewhere far, where there was no pain and tears, Wataru meets a girl staring at the trees, and as Madoka looks at him, she runs over to him and hugs him. And in the end, they both met each other in the afterlife.